China has accused America of deliberately destroying international order. That was in response to US claims that Beijing was a currency manipulator, the first time that's been leveled by Washington in 25 years. Well, the yuan dropped to a decade's low on Monday, raising panic on the international market. Beijing also asked state-owned companies to suspend imports of US agricultural products. That comes after Donald Trump proposed more tariffs on Chinese imports.
China dropped the price of their currency to an almost historic low. It's called currency manipulation. Are you listening, Federal Reserve? This is a major violation which will greatly weaken China over time.
Financial expert Jim Rogers is across it. Hey, Jim, let's talk to you about this. Thanks for being with us live. So a dramatic drop in the yuan there. It's been corrected a bit, but why this massive reaction? Was it to be expected?
Well, Kevin, if you put billions of dollars under tariffs, don't you think it would affect the currency? I mean, for goodness sakes, maybe China's helping it, but anybody knows who knows any basic economics that you hit a huge economy with lots of tariffs, it's going to have an effect on the currency. I don't consider these guys currency manipulators. It's the way the market works.
What about this statement now officially calling China a currency manipulator? What does that actually mean in practice?
Well, what it means is, the words mean that if a country such as Russia, if you want your currency to go down, you put your central bank to work selling your currency to drive it down. It can be done, and it is done quite a lot, especially in smaller countries. But what America is saying is that China is now driving its currency down. Perhaps they are. There's no question that they can. On the other hand, the facts are, Kevin, America's put hundreds of billions of dollars of Chinese products under sanctions. That, of course, is going to drive down the demand for the currency. I mean, this is a simple fact. I mean, Washington can try to distort it if they want, but it's a simple fact.
So what China's doing here now, is that going to help China offset these tariffs?
Yes, if your currency goes down, it makes your goods somewhat cheaper, and you hopefully can sell them. On the other hand, it increases your cost of living and your cost of production, because then everything you buy is higher and higher. If you buy copper on the world market, for instance, and put it into a product, the price of your copper is going to be higher.
At a weak yuan makes Chinese goods cheaper to sell abroad to export, but is that a good or a bad thing as far as China's concerned? Might it sell more? How's that going to work?
Well, their plan is, and yes, with the currency down, countries do it all the time. Russia's doing it. With the currency down, it makes your goods cheaper, and perhaps you can sell more. On the other hand, as far as America is concerned, it makes American goods more expensive, and therefore more difficult for America to sell goods in the world market.
So America's introduced tariffs on China and Europe as well, as we've been saying. Is Beijing right to accuse the US of protectionism here, or is it overstepping the mark?
Of course it is. I mean, America, I don't think even America would deny, well, maybe they would deny it, but no, America's started trade wars and tariffs with many countries in the world. I don't know what maybe you can say it's not trade war, but to me, it's trade war.
But this at the same time as these trade negotiations were going on, falteringly it must be said, but were going on between the US and China. What's happened now going to help those negotiations? I mean, China are going to dig their heels in even more, aren't they?
Well, I would suspect so, because China knows that the American election is coming up, and that if they have the patience, and they're in a society where they can control it much more than America can, maybe in their view, if they sit and wait, and America starts suffering, they've already said we're not going to buy American agricultural products. Mr. Trump would not be president if it weren't for the farmers in America. So maybe they're going to try to hit back at him where his votes are. And agriculture is a big part of his votes. As
we were saying earlier on, this allegation of currency manipulator hasn't been leveled by America since 1994, Bill Clinton. And when you do that, apparently it's a way for countries to be able to then instigate trade talks. But these trade talks have been going on anyway between America and China. So again, why do that? What's the point of this currency manipulator allegation today?
Well, Mr. Trump says that the Chinese have backtracked. The Chinese have agreed to do some things and then backtrack. The Chinese say the same thing. The Chinese say the Americans agreed to do some things and then backtrack. I have no idea. I wasn't in the room, but they're both now shouting at each other, and
What's
that's
your
not
feeling?
usually a...
What's your feeling about what's really going on here behind the scenes and where it's going to go?
Well, what I'm afraid of is it's going to get worse for a while. The markets around the world are going to go down, and Mr. Trump watches the American stock markets. And when the American stock market is down a lot and his friends are feeling pain, then we will probably get some kind of announcement that will sound like good news. Markets will rally, but it's going to hurt for a while longer first, Kevin.
And if this gets worse, it's going to affect more than just America, more than just Chinese trade. Could it be turned into a global problem?
Kevin, it's going to be a horrible global problem. It may ruin us all in the next few years. Trade wars have never been good, and even if you're not in the trade war, you suffer because all the world's economies suffer. So everybody around you suffers as well. Kevin, no trade war in history has ever been good for anybody. Even if somebody thinks he won, he didn't. He lost. Everybody loses. Now, Mr. Trump thinks he's smarter than history. He thinks he can handle history.
Voice of experience, Jim Rogers, financial expert. Thanks for coming on at short notice. It was great to see you.